Welcome attendees. I see you joining us tonight. Welcome NSHSS members, families, educators, if you're joining us to the NSHSS College and Career Series. Let us know while you're filtering in here where you're joining us from. Let us know in the chat. Here at NSHSS, our headquarters are Atlanta, Georgia. We are Southern and proud. Chris, I think you're joining us from much farther north.
Yep, I'm up in Albany, New York area. I just saw someone from New York post in the chat, so
yeah,
I'm from New York, awesome.
Both of them represented. We had some members last night from Japan and India joining us, which was awesome.
Oh, wow.
Super different time zone there, but still joining us. Some more New York people representing. It's just so great to get members from all over the US and even the world on these calls. We're so excited to have you guys tonight. We'll give just a few more minutes here for some other folks to filter in and join us before we get started. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the NSHSS College and Career Series. We have a session each night this week. Last night we had a session with our partner collegeadvisor.com, and tonight we have Sally May joining us. Mr. Chris Earnshaw from Sally May is joining us. All right, so I see we've got a good crowd here. So I will go ahead and get us started introducing Mr. Chris Earnshaw, who's presenting tonight. Chris has served as the Director of Relationship Management at Sally May for 6 years now. He is based in the New York area, as he said. He works with high schools, colleges, and universities throughout the Northeast to educate students and families on planning and paying for college. Prior to Sally May, Chris served in similar capacities at KeyBank and JP Morgan Chase Bank. Chris also has extensive on-campus experience serving as Assistant Director of Financial Aid at Roger Williams University in Bristol, Rhode Island. Chris is active in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut State Financial Aid Associations and is passionate about helping students understand the college financial aid process and completing their Fafsas. Originally from Rhode Island, Chris earned his BA from Rhode Island College and MBA from Providence College, and now lives in Saratoga County, New York, with his wife and 2 young children. So Chris, tonight, we're excited to have you here with us to present about financing college. So I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Grace. I appreciate it. And just want to also mention, I have on the line with me today my friend and colleague, Jean McCarthy, who's also based here in New York. She's in the Long Island area and covers New York City and Long Island for us, meeting with students, colleges, high schools down in that area. She's going to be helping me out with chat and Q&A today. So again, feel free to post some questions in the chat. And as we have time toward the end, we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. I am going to turn off my camera. We do have some Wi-Fi and bandwidth issues up here. So just if I turn my camera off, that will hopefully help with lag times. So for those of you graduating this year, congratulations. I know the last year or so has been very challenging on so many levels. So again, congratulations. And for those of you who are on the line who maybe have another year or more to go, enjoy your time in high school. It goes by very fast. Wherever you are in the college process, we do have some great information for you. We'll touch on a few key topics, including the paying for college process, the importance of filing the Fafsa, the different options that are available to you, as well as some tips and recommendations and some free resources that are available. First, let's touch on how families pay for college. The graph you see here is from Sally May's annual study called How America Pays for College. And it gives you a quick outline as to who is paying for college and how. The past academic year, families spent an average of just over $30,000 on college. This includes tuition and fees, room and board, and other related expenses such as books, computers. So how do families pay for it? Parents covered just over half the cost, 52% total. You see parent income and savings covered 44%, or around $13,000. And parent borrowing covered 8%, or around $2,500. The parent share has risen significantly over the last few years, as incomes have generally increased in recent years. Now, free financial aid, such as scholarships and grants, cover just over 25% of the cost, or around $7,600 on average. Scholarships covered about 15% and grants covered 10%. This share that financial aid covers has dropped just a bit over the last few years, which, if you think about it, makes some sense. As parents' income on the whole have risen, financial aid eligibility will decline a little bit. Now, a quick disclaimer on this study. It is based on 2019 data, which is pre-COVID, which obviously has had a tremendous effect on employment and on income. Next, students contributed about 21% toward costs, with students borrowing around $4,000 per year and around $2,300 from students' income and savings. The amount the student has borrowed and the proportion of the total cost it covers has remained consistent over the last few years. Finally, you see there gifts from relatives and friends covered just over 1% of the total cost, contributing around $436 on average. So let's talk about paying for college. We recommend following the 1-2-3 approach, which is you start with free money, then move on, utilize savings and income, and then finally at the end, consider your loan options. First, maximize your free money. This is money that does not need to be repaid. This includes traditional financial aid, such as grants and scholarships. Now, just keep in mind, the words grants and scholarships are often used interchangeably, but rule of thumb, grants are awarded based on student or family income and financial need, while scholarships will usually have a merit component attached, such as good grades, and may or may not also consider family income. Grants and scholarships could be from the federal government via the Fafsa, could be from your home state, from your college, any outside organization that offers scholarships. Once grants and scholarships are applied, you will have a better sense of how much you actually owe the school. Next, consider how much you have saved using 529 plans or similar investment vehicles. Maybe you've been working part-time over the last couple summers and you've squirreled away some funds which can go toward your college expenses. Another option to consider, most colleges offer a monthly tuition payment plan where families can spread the tuition payments out across the entire year rather than paying the whole balance up front. This is a great option for families who may not be able to pay the balance up front, but can pay smaller amounts over the course of the entire school year. Finally, there may be a remaining balance. Families may need to explore loan options. Students should always look to federal direct loans first. All students are eligible for direct loans just by completing the Fafsa, and freshmen can receive up to $5,500, and that amount actually increases a little bit each year. Interest rate for direct loans is generally lower than most other loan options. This current year, the rate is fixed at 2.75%. If families still need additional funding, parent loans and private loans are available. Non-education loans could be an option as well, and we'll look at those options in a bit. Free money. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the free money options. Scholarships and paying for college. Let's look at the scholarship money and where that comes from. 58% of students were awarded and used scholarships in the past academic year, 2019-2020. Among families who said they used scholarships, 64% received them from the college with an average amount of around $9,600. Keep in mind, every college is different. Some college scholarships are awarded via the college admissions office. In other colleges, admissions works in concert with the financial aid office to award the scholarships. 29% receive them from state or local government with an average amount of about $4,700. Every state handles their process differently. Here in New York, there are separate applications for every form of financial aid and scholarship, where other states may award their scholarships just based off of information you've submitted on the Fafsa. Outside the formal financial aid process, however, students may be eligible for scholarships from community groups, businesses, or nonprofit entities. 27% of scholarship users reported obtaining one from a community-based source with an average amount of around $2,200. Now, one thing I always like to say, you don't need to be #1 in your class or an all-star athlete to get free money for college. Scholarships can be awarded for a number of reasons. They can be based on financial need. They can be merit-based, meaning it's based off grades or class rank. They could be based off hobbies you're interested in, your field of study, ethnicity, religion, you name it. There are thousands of scholarships offered by employers, private companies, nonprofit organizations, community and religious groups. NSHSS and their partners offer many scholarships each year, so be sure to check out the NSHSS website. There's their direct link right there at the top of that slide. Students and parents should check with their employers, as many companies offer scholarship programs for their employees and their employees' children. As a current high school student, a great resource for local or community-based scholarships is your high school guidance counselor office. Most guidance offices publish a list of scholarships available to graduates of their high school. Also check with the admissions and financial aid offices for the colleges that you're interested in. These are usually handled separately from the traditional financial aid process and require separate applications. Remember, you don't have to be a new student to apply. Many of the scholarships are offered to upperclassmen as well, meaning sophomores, juniors, and seniors. There are literally millions of scholarships available. It can be overwhelming and sometimes exhausting to do the research. Luckily, there are online scholarship search engines that can help. So how do these online search engines work? The scholarship searches house an aggregate list of scholarships and allow users to be matched based on a personal profile that you can create. So keep your profile up to date. Make sure it's up to date with your test scores, your GPA, any clubs or organizations you're involved in, any activities, your community, academic interests, and update it as well as you go through college. This is not just for your freshman year in high school. Like we said, there are scholarships for all grade levels. As more scholarships are posted that match your profile, you'll then get an email alert so you can research the opportunity a little bit further. Scholarship amounts can vary widely, come from a few $100s to thousands of dollars. Apply for everything you're eligible for, regardless of amount. Every little bit helps. Even a smaller scholarship that you think won't make a difference, it may be a scholarship that you can get, helps pay a little bit toward your balance. One quick tip, scholarship applications should not cost a fee to apply. If you're asked to pay a fee, application fee, just skip it altogether. That's not a scholarship, it is a raffle. Welcome to enter it, but you shouldn't have to spend money to earn a scholarship. Some different examples of scholarship search engines. We at Sallie Mae offer a free scholarship search. Fastweb is also one of the most well-known search engines out there. And just a quick plug for a deeper dive into the whole scholarship process. Check out their session. That's on Thursday night as part of NSHSS's College and Career Series. And finally, Big Future, CapEx, Unigo, a few other reputable scholarship search sites. Next, let's take a look at the Fafsa. Fafsa stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's the primary vehicle used to determine financial aid eligibility. It unlocks student eligibility to federal Pell Grants, work study, student loans. The maximum amount for a Pell Grant for the 2021-22 school year is $6,495, depending on the student's financial aid eligibility. Now you might think, I know I won't qualify for any Pell Grants or financial aid, so why should I bother? For one, if the student wishes to borrow federal direct loans, the FAFSA is always required. Additionally, many states require the FAFSA to be completed before awarding their own state grant programs. While you may not qualify for a federal Pell Grant, you could still qualify for a state grant, or even if your state offers a free college program. In New York, for instance, if your family earns under $125,000, the student can attend a state school tuition free. But the FAFSA has to be completed in order to participate in that program. Other states have similar programs as well. Next, most colleges that offer institutional financial aid would require the FAFSA to be completed as well. And finally, some elite four-year private colleges may require an additional form called the profile application. Check each college website to see if the profile is required. FAFSA is required everywhere. Some elite private schools also require the profile application. That link there, it's a little long, is a listing of all the colleges that require profile. Or if you also Google profile participating institutions, this page will come right up. So here's a guide to when you can complete the FAFSA. The blue box is for this year's high school seniors who are starting college later this fall. The FAFSA became available this past October, and students can still file a FAFSA all the way through right to the end of freshman year, which would be June 2022. We don't advise that you wait that long to fill it out, as most colleges do have priority deadlines for completion in order to award their own financial aid. The green box that you see is for this year's high school juniors. Notice in October, just after you start your senior year in high school, the FAFSA will open up for your class. A year later, the process repeats for current sophomores, as the red box indicates. If there are any freshmen on today's call, just add 1 year to everything you see in that red box, and that'll give you an idea of when you'll need to file your FAFSA. Now, a word about financial aid appeals. You'll notice in the blue box, the current FAFSA is based off 2019 income, which was pre-COVID. Anyone who experienced a job loss or reduction in income due to COVID, or really for any reason, can file an appeal with the college financial aid office. The financial aid office can determine to exclude any income from the parent or parents who suffered a loss of income, potentially making you eligible for additional financial aid. It's a very common process, as we unfortunately know that many people have been affected by job loss over the past year. This has been a very standard practice for college financial aid offices. Okay, you've hopefully maximized your free money options. What can we do before we need to consider our loan options? 529 College Savings Plan is another vehicle that you may have chosen to save funds for higher education expenses. Funds for these accounts can be used for qualified higher education expenses, which could include tuition, fees, books, computer, other supplies, and certain room and board costs. Funds grow tax-free if used for educational expenses. Now, just a quick disclaimer, we do recommend that you refer to your individual 529 plan regarding any limits and consult your tax advisor regarding tax implications for lump sum contributions. Some other points to consider: the account owner retains the asset, not the student. And parents with multiple children can change the beneficiary on it as necessary. And you get to decide when you use it. For instance, if you have a plan that's earning gains at around 10 or 12% or more each year, and meanwhile you can borrow a student loan at a much lower rate, it may be a good idea to borrow early and allow your 529 plan to continue to grow at a high rate for an extra year or two. Every family is different, but that's just something to keep in mind. Tuition payment plans. Most of the colleges out there offer some kind of monthly tuition payment plan. Tuition payment plan offers you the ability to spread your payments into manageable monthly amounts over the course of the semester or the academic year. You control the dollar amount. So it's important to understand that you do not have to place the entire balance into a payment plan if that's not an affordable monthly option for you. The cool thing about the payment plans, the companies offer calculators where you can let them know how much you can afford to pay each month, and they'll calculate how much to sign up for a payment plan and how much the student or parent would maybe need to borrow in a loan option. So you may consider an amount that is affordable each month, and any dollar routed through a payment plan is a dollar that reduces the need to borrow. You can see a couple of examples here where after financial aid is applied, $5,000 is still owed. Now you could do that on a payment plan, $500 a month over 10 months. Or what some families may do is combine that with a loan. Maybe they can afford $300 a month for 10 months, which would be $3,000. And then they borrow $2,000 in a loan, or really any amount, any combination that you're comfortable, you're able to do. $401k plans. While this is an option, we generally don't advise parents to dip into retirement funds to help pay for college. These are funds that are meant for retirement, and there could be tax implications for early withdrawal. You can also borrow against your 401k, but again, it may not make much sense to borrow against your 401k if it's achieving a high rate of return versus borrowing a student loan at a much lower rate. Okay, so you've exhausted all your other options. You've scoured the internet for scholarships. Maybe you have some funds from a 529 plan earmarked for school, or you signed up for a tuition payment plan. But you still need help funding that final balance. Let's take a look at some of the loan options that are available to students and families. Federal direct student loans. These are the type of loans all students are eligible for just by completing the Fafsa. Yes, there's some very basic requirements to qualify. You have to be a US citizen or permanent resident. You have to not be in default on any prior student loans if you do have. But otherwise, everyone qualifies for federal direct student loans. All first-year college students can receive up to $5,500. Up to $3,500 of that amount could be subsidized or interest-free while the student's in school. Students must qualify for this financially. Otherwise, students are eligible for the full amount in unsubsidized loan, up to $5,500. Interest accrues on this loan at all times. The College Financial Aid Office will notify you during the award letter process on what amounts you're eligible for. The interest rate on this program is set each July 1st, and it's fixed for the life of the loan. You can see here that the current interest rate is 2.75% for undergraduate students. We don't yet know what the interest rate on the federal loans will be for the 2021-22 academic year, but the Department of Education should be releasing that information shortly, like within the next couple of weeks. We're estimating the rates for next year will be around 3.67% for the coming academic year, which is still very low. We will see what they actually are again in the next week or two. Now, borrowers are charged an origination fee, which is determined on October 1st of each year. Currently, that fee is 1.05% through the end of September. This fee is subtracted from the loan prior to funds being released to the school. So if you borrow $5,500, only $5,442 is applied to the bill. The $58 origination fee stays with the government, but the student is responsible for repaying the full $5,500. You can also see on the chart on the far right toward the top that the amount of federal direct student loans increases a little bit each year. Second year students can receive up to $6,500 and then up to $7,500 for third year and beyond. Repayment on all loans begins 6 months after the student graduates or withdraws from college. And there are several different repayment plans offered, ranging from 10 years up to 25 years. And many of those plans are based off of your individual income. So Federal Plus loans. These are parent loans for undergraduate students. They're in the parent's name only and not in the student's name. There's no limit to the amount a parent can apply for. It is a credit-based loan. However, they do not determine the ability to repay, meaning they look at your credit only and not the parent's income. Now, like with the direct loans, the interest rate is set each July 1st and is fixed for the life of the loan. You can see here that the current rate is set at 5.3%. And again, we don't know what the interest rate is quite yet for 2021-22. We are estimating it will be around 6.22%. But again, that's not official yet. Just like the direct loans, the Plus loan program does charge an origination fee. With the Plus loan, that's currently 4.228%, which is quite a bit higher versus the fee charged on the federal direct loans. Again, this fee is subtracted from the loan prior to funds being released to the school. So if you borrow $5,000 through this program, only $4,789 is applied to the bill. Again, the parent would be responsible for repaying the full $5,000. So a Plus loan could be the right decision for your family. Again, we advise families to do some research, take a look at private loan options as well. Now, private student loans are credit-based loans, again, meaning borrower has to qualify for it. The student is the primary borrower on the loan. However, a student who does not have at least 3 years of credit history will need a cosigner to the loan, which means most first-year college students. The cosigner is just as responsible for repaying the loan as the student borrower is. Cosigner is often a parent, but unlike the Federal Plus loan program, that's not a requirement. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a parent who cosigns for the student. Be sure to shop around. Every lender prices their loans differently. And many borrowers often see a rate lower than the Federal Plus loan rate. Some things to ask the lender for the lender's death and disability policy and cosigner release policy. Some lenders, like Sallie Mae, offer the ability for the student to remove the cosigner from the loan once the student has graduated and is successfully in repayment in as little as 12 months. Other lenders may or may not offer this benefit. you're considering a private student loan, check out our website there, salliemay.com/studentloans/NSHSS. One final loan option to consider is the private parent loan. These loans work similarly to the Federal Plus Loan Program. The student is not a party to the loan, but there are a few key differences. It is a credit-based loan, and borrowers could receive a lower rate versus the Federal Plus Loan Program. There are no fees attached to the private parent loan versus the 4.2% fee attached to the Federal Plus Loan Program. So students will realize 100% of the proceeds from the loan. One other thing to keep in mind, while they're called parent loans, any credit-worthy borrower can apply, which is handy if the student's parents are unable or unwilling to borrow. Again, shop around, consider all of your options. Quick point on home equity loans. It's an easy way to access cash quickly, and interest rates right now are very low. While I don't think there's any harm of accessing a modest amount of cash as needed, I'd be hesitant to tie up too much equity to pay college expenses. You don't want to put your home at risk if circumstances change. It's one thing if you can't pay a student loan, but it's another matter if you cannot make your house payments. You may also need the equity for future home improvements or any emergency repairs. And remember, while most student lenders offer a death and disability forgiveness benefit, this may not be an available option here. Credit cards. Now, most colleges do take credit cards as payment, but I would never advise anyone to finance tuition with a credit card, as interest rates on credit cards can be very high. It's one thing if you can afford to make the payment, but are using your credit card just to earn points or rewards, and you plan to immediately pay off that card in full. But as a financing vehicle, just about any other loan option would be more cost effective. Also keep in mind that some colleges actually pass the processing fee onto the card user, so it may not even be worthwhile to use your card if you're looking to accumulate rewards or points. Some other key items to consider before borrowing. Number one of the first questions a borrower should ask themselves for borrowing is, how much should I borrow? Students in particular should make sure they can pay the loan back later. While all borrowing situations are unique, there are experts who advise students not to borrow more than their starting annual salary. So research the program at your college. They should be able to provide you with information on projected starting salaries for their alumni based on their program. For example, if the starting salary is $40,000, try to keep your student loan debt under that figure. Number two, interest rates. Fixed interest rates have a certain appeal to consumers as they convey a sense of stability, particularly due to fear of a rising interest rate environment. Meanwhile, a variable interest rate can go up and down. Fixed rates are most beneficial for loans with a long lifetime, as they can provide stability through extended periods of time. You're always going to know what the monthly payment's going to be on a fixed rate loan. Variable rates are more beneficial in a low interest rate environment, especially if the goal is to pay the loan off sooner rather than later. Variable rates now have been low over most of the past few years. But as the pandemic gets under control, the economy starts to move, we suspect that rates may begin to rise again. So another element often considered when shopping for private loans are the benefit programs offered. They can vary vastly by lender. The most standard benefit is probably the automatic debit or ACH benefit. This benefit is offered in a form of an interest rate reduction, usually a 0.25% or 0.5% reduction for borrowers who opt to have their loan payments automatically deducted right from their bank account. Some lenders also offer a loan credit upon graduation or a discount for good grades. Other lenders may also offer free services from their partners to their borrowers. Other loan features that are sometimes not considered at all, but have a pretty big impact. Repayment term. The longer the repayment term can result in more interest being paid and a higher total loan cost. So paying off the loan early can help you save. Lender longevity. How long has the lender been in business? We've seen many students borrow by a startup lender who on the surface seem to offer great terms and benefits. Unfortunately, some startups face difficulty, go out of business, leaving a student in limbo, expecting their spring loan funds to come in, but they never do because the lender's gone out of business. If you haven't heard of the lender, do some research. The Better Business Bureau is a great resource to look up a student loan company or lender. Cosigner release, we touched on this earlier. Many students who apply for a student loan in their first few years of college don't have enough credit to qualify for a private loan on their own. So while adding a cosigner is often a touchy subject, as the legal obligation for the loan is now shared, some lenders offer borrowers the opportunity to apply for cosigner release after graduating. Many parents cited that cosigner release made the decision to cosign upfront much easier. Again, Sallie Mae's policy is for the student can apply to remove the cosigner from the loan once the student has graduated and has successfully made 12 on-time student loan payments. Death and disability waivers are standard with federal loan programs, but not always with private loans. Check with each lender. Sallie Mae does offer a death and disability benefit on their private student loans. Finally, some quick tips and recommendations. Just make a plan ahead of time. Who's responsible to pay, whether that's the student, the parent, combination of both. Try to get that mapped out early rather than when the bill is due. Do your research, use as many free tools as possible. NSHSS, a great resource for all facets of the college planning process. And just remember what worked, what didn't from year to year. Remember, you're going to repeat the same process for each year of school. So check with your college admissions and financial aid office. There's some great resources out there to help you navigate all of your options. So we've reached the end. Thank you so much for your attention tonight. Hopefully I was able to provide some information that you found helpful. If we have time, I'm going to check in with Jean to see if we have any questions out there.
Hi, Chris. Great stuff. We did get a lot of questions on scholarships. When is a good time to apply? Or if your income is a little too high for need-based grants and you can't just write a check to the college, what to do. So I've been just typing in the chat that you should research all private scholarships. If you want to elaborate on the timing, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a good question. This comes up for us quite a bit. And the short answer is really it depends. Scholarships are part of the college financial aid process. And the colleges will review your eligibility for scholarships when you apply with Fafsa. But for private scholarships through organizations or individual donors, they really set their own timeframes as to deadlines on the application. That's why it's important to remain vigilant throughout the year. I think I was on NSHSS's scholarship page earlier today. They have a lot of scholarships out there right now. Some deadlines are coming up, even within the next week or so. And then there's others that are later in the year. So it varies from scholarship to scholarship. So we recommend, at least signing up for one of those scholarship searches, and then you'll get alerts as things post and as deadlines come up. One other thing to keep in mind, again, just if you're able to come back on Thursday night, NSHSS is offering that a whole hour on scholarships, partnering with FastWeb. So, we recommend that folks check that out.
Thanks, Chris. We've also gotten some questions on loans. So can you talk about if people have to reapply for loans each year?
Yeah, so with the federal loans, students complete one promissory note, and it's actually good for up to 10 years. However, most colleges have an online mechanism in place where you still need to actively request the loans through the school each year. Now, for private loans, you do need to reapply each year. And we know there are some lenders out there who offer a feature where you need to only apply once for all 4 years of college. However, keep in mind those lenders will reevaluate your credit each year. So it's not truly automatic for the 4 years. With Sallie Mae, you do have to reapply with us each year. But we do have a 98% reapproval rate. So you can be confident as a freshman, if you're approved in year one, you're going to be approved for the life of your education.
Thank you, Chris. And lastly, some questions on work study. If you could talk about that for a little bit, just give, an overview of exactly what it is.
So work study is a unique form of federal financial aid. Now, since it's financial aid, the students have to qualify for it. So let's say the financial aid office said you were eligible for $2,000 in work study funds for the year. Now, instead of this going toward your bill, you work throughout the year on campus, and then you get a paycheck either every week or every couple of weeks. And it gives students funds to help with expenses throughout the year. And really, it gives you a little bit of spending cash to put in your pocket. I'm a big fan of using work study if you're able to. Just about every department on a college campus offers work study jobs, whether that's the library or computer labs, the athletic center, the cafeteria, most of the administrative offices, including admissions, financial aid office, all offer work study positions. The cool thing about working on campus, the hours are flexible, so you can squeeze in some work time in between your classes. Now, the jobs are limited, so if you're interested in a specific department, contact the college financial aid office sooner rather than later. Don't wait until your freshman orientation or the start of classes, as the jobs do fill up quickly. I recommend reaching out to the financial aid office, early summer. And just FYI, even if you don't qualify for work study, a lot of those same departments also offer student employment part-time positions as well. And it's nice to work on campus because, again, you can squeeze in time in between classes. You don't have to worry about, maybe driving to a part-time job. And again, there's the flexibility with the hours.
Thank you, Chris. And maybe Grace or Courtney, can you talk a little bit about the scholarship event on Thursday? I've been trying to promote it, but I don't have the details. So thank you.
Yeah, sure thing, Jean. Thanks so much, Chris, for joining us tonight and for that awesome presentation. Just to talk about the session that Chris was referencing Thursday, we are presenting a session with FastWeb on Thursday. They are a leading scholarship search engine, so you all will definitely have to join us for that session on Thursday as well. Thanks for mentioning that, Chris.
No, my pleasure. Are there any other questions that we have out there?
Sorry, I was muted. Just finishing one answer. And I think we're good. Oh, how do we sign up for Thursday, Grace?
Absolutely. So that's actually a good segue into the conclusion here of our session. If there are no more questions that we want to answer out loud, we can have Jean keep answering some questions in the background. But I will just conclude the session here with giving you some information about those sessions later in the week. So you can scan this QR code on the screen here, and that will take you to a landing page where you can register for each of the sessions for the rest of the week, including the Thursday session. You can scan that code there. And then also we want to draw your attention to our Scholars Day DC event, which is happening this August 6th and 7th in Washington, DC in person. We will be back in person. So you can scan that QR code right under the first one to be taken to that page to register. So that's what you can register for the remaining sessions for the rest of the week. If there are any more questions, Chris or Jean, that you want to answer out loud, we can do that at this time before we conclude the session.
Sure, just a little bit more on scholarships. I'm trying very hard to promote that. And when to complete the Fafsa. So I'll do both. If you're a senior in high school, you can complete the Fafsa as of October 1st of the prior year and begin your during college application season. So if you're applying to college now for fall 2022, you will be able to complete the Fafsa this year, October 1st. And then somebody else asked, what year in high school is best to start looking for scholarships? I cannot speak to every scholarship search tool, but the Sally Mae scholarship search tool, we allow you to register at the age of 13. And should you be awarded a scholarship, it will be held for you until you register and attend college and show proof of a bill. And then the payment will be made to the college.
Yeah, that's a good guide, Jean. And I always, personally, I recommend once you hit sophomore year, at least start browsing some of the different search engines just to familiarize yourself with them. And then junior year and then senior year, definitely start applying for as many that you might be eligible for. As you said, you can apply for them, well ahead of time, and they will hold the scholarship, until you actually, attend college. So even if you're, freshman or sophomore, you're awarded a scholarship, they will, the donor will hold it for you till you reach college age.
Great, thank you, Chris. Again, lots of questions on scholarships. We are recommending to you to join the FastWeb event on Thursday night. Grace or Courtney, is that on your website? I don't want to come off the Zoom event to try and find the link. Maybe
Yes,
if you could post the link in the chat. I'm not paying much attention to the chat.
Yes, Courtney just dropped that link in the chat for the rest of the series. I'll drop it just one more time.
Great.
And then also you can scan the QR code on the screen as well. All right. Are there any further questions, Jean or Chris, you want to answer before we conclude?
One last one. When do you get the FAFSA results? Immediately. You do it online and you will get your estimated family contribution. So you know what the minimum is that you're expected to contribute towards your education. And those results are sent to the schools that you list on the FAFSA, and then the schools will start sending you award notifications, typically after January 1st.
Yeah, and that perfect, Jean. And one thing I always mention, the FAFSA process is kind of independent from the college admissions process. There's no correct or incorrect order, of applying for admission to the college first and then financial aid. Once financial aid applications opens up in October, you can file that even if maybe you don't apply for admission, until December or January or even later. So, don't feel you have to wait to apply for financial aid until you apply for college. It's available to you in October.
Great, thank you, Chris. And then someone is asking how they can access the recording. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, so I just dropped that.
Oh, okay.
No worries. It was earlier in the chat as well. I'll drop it one more time. So this session is recorded tonight, as well as all of the sessions this week. They'll be available next week on our past events page at the link I just dropped in the chat. So that's when you'll be able to view the recording of this and all of this week's sessions.
Great. One last question. Can you appeal the Fafsa amount? It's not necessarily an appeal, but if you have a change of circumstances, either loss of income or increased unanticipated medical expenses, you can let your college financial aid office know about the change in circumstances, and they will guide you as to their policy as to what they will and will not take into consideration.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, that it's a very common process right now that all financial aid offices are, handling these appeals, just because, so many folks have unfortunately had a, job loss or change of income, over the last year.
Great, thank you, Chris. That's it. I'm just typing one more answer about, I'll just speak it out. Do difficult/dual credit and AP classes increase your chances of getting scholarships? And I was typing, it depends on the school and the scholarship donor. So if it's a Coca-Cola scholarship or a scholarship for being a pet lover, just being a pet lover alone might be enough, and you don't have to have AP or dual credit classes. If it's a school-based scholarship, they might weigh those type of classes differently than they would regular high school classes. So I would check with the college that you're interested in.
Perfect. Thank you for handling all those questions, Jean.
Oh, my pleasure. Good luck to everyone. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We wish you nothing but success in your educational career.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Good luck in the coming year and years beyond. And anything you need from us, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome, fantastic. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. And as Chris mentioned during his presentation, there is an NSHSS Sallie Mae platform that you can access. I'll drop that link in the chat one more time. This is a platform that's especially for our members and families to access Sallie Mae services. There are some free financial tools on that platform that are really helpful, so definitely go and check that out. Even if you don't want to get a Sallie Mae loan, you can take advantage of those resources. So that link is in the chat, but now with no more questions, I'll go ahead and conclude the session. Thank you so much, attendees, for joining us this evening, afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you to Mr. Chris Earnshaw for such an awesome presentation, and to Jean as well for supporting in the background, answering questions. Thank you to Sallie Mae, who's an excellent partner to NSHSS for this session. Thank you to the NSHSS team for putting on such a successful second session in our college and career series this week. As we've mentioned, don't forget to join us for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, our partner in Australia, Monash University, is presenting Studying Your Degree in Australia, differences between the US and Australia. So definitely come and join that session. On Thursday, as we mentioned, will be Scholarship Matching, Find Scholarships Just for You, presented by FastWeb. And then on Friday, our finale is Scholarships with the Army ROTC, Learn, Lead, Succeed, presented by the US Army ROTC. So you can scan that QR code and register for each session, or access the link that was dropped in the chat. Also, as we mentioned, all of us here at NSHSS are so looking forward to returning to in-person events this August. Again, that date is August 6th and 7th in Washington, D.C. at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland, right outside of D.C. So we will see you guys all in person. Definitely scan that code to get your Scholars Day tickets today. That event is going to feature a college and career fair with our university, corporate, and government partners, including Sallie Mae. Sallie Mae will be at this event, so definitely come and meet Mr. Earnshaw in person. That event's also going to feature educational workshops. And our keynote speaker, you actually might know him from TikTok. His name is Kyle Sheely. He's going to be presenting our keynote motivational speech. So we will see you guys at Scholars Day for all of those exciting things. And that is really all for tonight's college and career session. We will see you all tomorrow evening for the continuation. Good night.
Thank you, Grace.